Welcome to the deep dive. Now, most of us, I think, have heard of flow, right? That zone where you're just totally immersed, performing at your best. But today we're going to go a bit deeper than just the definition. We want to unpack the precise neurobiological blueprint that lets your brain unlock this incredible state.
Exactly. We're really exploring flow as this universal human capacity. It's there for optimal performance. And the fascinating part is how it kind of bypasses individual psychological quirks because it taps into your brain's deep evolved architecture. It's almost like finding, universal cheat codes for peak performance.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive then is to reveal what flow really is, but through that neuroscience lens, how your brain enables it, and crucially, the practical strategies you can actually use to consistently, well, hopefully consistently, access this powerful state. So let's start there. What is flow, really? You hear the term but.
It's that sweet spot, yeah,
Yeah.
where you're totally absorbed, you feel great, you perform great, everything else just kind of fades away. Precisely. And when psychologists break it down, they talk about 6 core characteristics you'd experience. First, complete concentration. Then there's this merger of action and awareness where you and the task feel like one thing. Your sense of self, it just vanishes. Time gets weird, right? It dilates, either speeds up massively or slows right down. You feel this clear sense of control. And finally, the experience is autotelic, which just means it's an end in itself. It feels so good, so euphoric, you actively seek it out again. And what's really remarkable is how universal this is. You see it across people, cultures, activities. It's just human.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me, the neurobiology side. These advances in brain imaging, like fMRI, EEG, they literally let us see the brain working in real time, these networks of activity.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating, maybe a bit counterintuitive, is that the part of the brain we associate with, like control the executive attention network, planning, overriding impulses, it actually quiets down and flow.
Yes, exactly. That quietening is absolutely key. And that's why looking at the neurobiology gives us such reliable, repeatable methods for boosting performance. We're tapping into traits that evolved across the entire species. It's not just about, having the right mindset subjectively. It's about leveraging your brain's hardwired architecture.
So if that executive part of the brain goes quiet, how do we actually get into flow? You often hear that phrase, flow follows focus. And I understand there are, like 22 preconditions or triggers, and they all basically push your attention right into the present moment.
That's the core idea. Drive attention now. And that focus is often powered by some pretty potent neurochemicals. Certain triggers, they actually boost dopamine and norepinephrine. Think about focus, excitement, drive. So dopamine-rich triggers, things like novelty, taking a calculated risk, unpredictability, even complexity, that feeling of awe. Pattern recognition is another big one. It helps explain why creativity can feel like this upward spiral. Each connection gives you a little dopamine hit. But look, if there's one golden rule for getting into flow consistently, it's nailing the challenge skills balance.
Okay, the challenge skills balance. That sounds like the sweet spot you mentioned. Tell me more.
It is exactly that. It's finding that precise point where a task is maybe 4% or 5% more challenging than your current skill level. It's that perfect tension, right? It sits right between boredom too easy and anxiety too hard. So the practical takeaway for you is if you've got some huge daunting goal, you need to chunk it down. Break it into smaller steps that keep you right in that 4% zone.
That's a brilliant guideline, 4 to 5% tougher. Okay, so we've got the task dialed in. What about the drive to even start? How does motivation fit into accessing flow?
Oh, hugely important. To really lock in that focus, you can think about what we sometimes call the motivation stack. You might start with extrinsic stuff, earning enough money so you're not worried, covering the bills, basic security. But once that's handled, intrinsic motivators become way more powerful for flow. Things like curiosity, passion, purpose. And purpose is uniquely potent because when you attach your passion to something bigger than yourself, it actually brings in pro-social chemicals like oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. That gives you an even deeper, more sustained boost, feel-good chemistry, and connection.
Okay, this is really practical. Beyond the task itself and the motivation, what about preparing your environment, your physiology? How do we set the stage for flow?
Right. Good question. First, try to align your deep work sessions with your body's natural focus cycles. These tend to run about 90 to 120 minutes, a bit like REM cycles during sleep. Second, and this is non-negotiable, distraction management. Turn off the phone, email alerts, social media pings. Seriously. There was that McKinsey study, right? Found something like a 500% productivity spike when people were in flow. Protecting those blocks of time is critical. It's even worth, having conversations ahead of time with family, colleagues. Explain why you need that uninterrupted time. And then there's mental hygiene, reducing stress because anxiety is a massive flow blocker. Things like a daily gratitude practice, just 5 minutes maybe, or mindfulness, say 11 minutes, regular exercise, 20 to 40 minutes. These things help reset your nervous system. And remember, flow is ultimately a focusing skill. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. A really good way to train your brain, actually, is to find your primary flow activity. Again, often something fun you loved as a kid but maybe dropped. Go do that thing.
Makes sense. So on the flip side, what are the big inhibitors, the things that really slam the door on flow?
Well, the number one killer, hands down, is distraction. Pulls you right out of the present. Others include fear, obviously, excessive anxiety, but also, interestingly, too much boredom. You need that challenge edge. And maybe a surprising one, self-consciousness. Thinking about how you look, how you're coming across, instead of just being lost in the task, that can actually fire up parts of the brain, like the prefrontal cortex, that actively shut down flow.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what does this whole deep dive into flow and neurobiology really mean for you, the listener, and your own potential?
I think the biggest takeaway is understanding that thanks to our neurobiology, we're all fundamentally hardwired for peak performance.
Mm.
We're capable of so much more than we often realize. And flow, it provides